In it to win it.
Herman Cain, thank you, sir.
Thanks a lot, Anderson.
Thank you. I get a lot of well-wishers here who want to talk to you.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. Enjoyed it.
Thank you. Big hour ahead tonight with the panel and more. Let us know what you think. We're on Facebook. Follow me on Twitter, @AndersonCooper. I'll be tweeting tonight. We're going to talk to our panel, Donna Brazil and Ari Fleischer and Gloria Borger and David Gergen. We're also going to show you the most electric moments of the night. Mitt Romney, Rick Perry trading verbal blows over illegal immigration. Governor Perry getting personal at times. Aaron Burnett's joining us shortly. So is Dana Lash as our coverage of the Western Republican presidential debate continues. We'll be right back. Welcome back to 360 live from Las Vegas. Fireworks on stage tonight as Mitt Romney and Rick Perry faced off over immigration. Perry accusing Romney of employing illegal immigrants, which Romney denied multiple times. The exchange got pretty testy. Take a look.
Mitt, you lose all of your standing from my perspective because you hired illegals in your home and you knew about it for a year. And the idea that you stand here before us and talk about that you're strong on immigration is on its face the height of hypocrisy.
Governor Romney?
Rick, I don't think I've ever hired an illegal in my life. And so I'm afraid, I'm looking forward to finding your facts on that because that just doesn't...
I'll tell you what the facts are.
Rick, again...
You had them...
I'm speaking.
The newspaper...
It's time for you to tell the truth. You get 30 seconds.
Time for you to tell the truth,
the way the rules work here is that I get 60 seconds.
Well, no, but the American people
and then you get 30 seconds to respond, right?
And they want to hear you say that you knew you had illegals.
Would you please wait?
Working.
Are you just going to keep talking?
Yes,
Or are you going to let me finish with what I have to say? Look, Rick...
I thought Republicans followed rules.
This has been a tough couple of debates for Rick, and I understand that, and so you're going to get testy. But I'll tell you what. Let me take my time, and then you can take your time.
Great.
All right?
Have at it.
All right. My time is this, which is I have in my state when I was governor, I took the action of empowering our state police to enforce immigration laws. When you were governor, you said I don't want to build a fence. You put in place a magnet. You talk about magnets. You put in place a magnet to draw illegals into the state, which was giving $100,000 of tuition credit to illegals that come into this country. And then you have states, the big states of illegal immigrants are California and Florida. Over the last 10 years, they've had no increase in illegal immigration. Texas has had 60% increase in illegal immigrants in Texas. If there's someone who has a record as governor with regards to illegal immigration that doesn't stand up to muster, it's you, not me.
One of several very contentious moments. A really fascinating night tonight. Our panel is here to weigh in. Aaron Burnett, anchor of Aaron Burnett Out Front, Democratic strategist Donna Brazil, CNN contributor and former White House press secretary Ari Fleischer, political analyst David Gergen, Gloria Borger, John King, host of John King USA, and contributor Dana Lash, co-organizer of the St. Louis Tea Party Coalition, joins us via satellite. John, what'd you make of it? I mean, you talked to Romney, you talked to Governor Perry right afterward. Was it as personal as it seemed on the stage?
Yes, although they want to say no. They also both spoke to each other right behind here. They stopped and they talked to each other very briefly. And I asked each of them what was that about. I got very sort of general answers. But Governor Perry said he thought it went very well tonight and he had a lot of fun. And then I said to him, what about the bad blood with Romney? And he pulled his wife over and he said, have you met my wife? And he introduced me to Anita Perry. So he did not clearly want to talk about it.
It was interesting because Romney said to me on stage in the middle of the debate, he said, oh, this is a good one. This is really...
Well, and then I asked Governor Romney about it as he was walking off, and he said, it comes with the territory. I get it. I'm fine with it. I had a lot of fun tonight. And I said, well, you two had the death glare. And Ann Romney, his wife, interjected, you mean the animosity? And then she brought that word up, and I said, do you think this will continue? And Governor Romney shrugged and said, we'll see. But I think what you saw tonight, those are the two guys. Yes, Herman Cain is a phenomenon right now, and we need to talk about him tonight. But Romney and Perry are the two guys who have the money, the infrastructure, the resources, the campaign team to keep this going in the long haul. You saw them go to a new level tonight. And so we're going to watch how this plays out. We're going to watch in the morning after if they have any remorse about being so personal and the animosity. You could see it in their eyes, Anderson. You could see it in their eyes on television, and people at home saw that. They both have tens of millions of dollars. They will raise tens of millions of more. Does that come soon to a TV ad war near you? That's the big question tonight. You know, there's a problem, though, in this, and it's why people like Herman Cain. Because Herman Cain got attacked for his 999 plan, but he was pretty amiable in his responses. There wasn't this kind of animosity. I think Rick Perry came tonight
for a knife fight. He knew he had to do it. He knew he had to attack Mitt Romney, and he did it. And I think the result of this overall is going to be to keep the undecideds undecided. This didn't really settle anything tonight. I think it just really keeps this race interesting.
But the other thing there was that it was very clear that from Mitt Romney's point of view, a lot of people thought the attention was going to be on Herman Cain, and Romney would go after Cain. In fact, Romney saved his heavy firepower for Perry. And it became clear, I think, that he does not take Cain that seriously in the long run. He thinks Perry is the real opposition, and he went after him.
Right. The first 10 minutes was roughly about Herman Cain's 999 plan.
Right. But that
then
faded.
It
faded off.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, I think that an audience watching that clip you just showed would say, I'm not sure I want either one of those guys in the White House.
Really?
That's the appeal.
I don't know about that.
I think we're all focused on the wrong thing here, frankly. I survived the Bush-McCain fights of 2000. They didn't care for each other. The voters don't pay attention to whether there's animosity, they don't like each other. They pay attention to whether they like a candidate or not. Each one has different strengths there. Nothing really changed fundamentally tonight. This is still a Perry-Romney race for the reasons John said, and because Romney has really upped his game so well. Perry is not a good debater, but you don't win elections on debates alone. And Cain remains the one who could step in if Perry stumbles as the anti-Romney. I don't see anything really changing that dynamic.
Ari Fleischer, are you holding on to an apple and an orange?
Anderson, right here is an apple and an orange, because I'm a tax wonk, and I love the debate about taxes. And so I want to hear more substantive policy debates about taxes.
Romney stuffed him on that. He stuffed McCain on that.
He got him.
You got him on it.
He got him on it because he said, do you add it on top of the state sales tax? Is it a VAT?
Okay,
right?
but what you're also hearing from Cain is get rid of the current code, and that's what people are responding to also. So that's look. If you're going to have a huge change like this on taxes,
on top of a tax also.
They do.
But it's both.
Sneak taxes, I think, is the term that he uses when he talks about the way we currently pay for things, and there is something to that he needs to explain. I mean, the burden is on him to explain. He said, I'm ready to sell it to the American people. He needs to do that to see whether it really can hold up, because it isn't really additive. But what the real number isn't quite clear.
But Donna,
the apples and oranges, I think you're right. He didn't make that case.
I mean, many conservatives have come forward in the last couple of days and said the taxes are going to go up if you're, on the lower end of the economic scale, if you're even in the middle class.
That's right. Herman Cain's 999 plan is actually a tax plan that will raise taxes on the middle class and force people who are currently paying lower taxes to pay more taxes, because the sales tax is a very regressive form of tax. But what we didn't hear tonight, in a state that has many unemployed Americans, many homes in foreclosure, is a plan to grow the economy. But tonight we heard, once again, the two front runners talk about their differences on immigration, on a host of other issues, but we really didn't get down to how they will grow the economy, and maybe they'll save that for last.
I want to bring in Dana Lash, because Dana, often, how something plays in the hall is very different than how it appears on TV. I have no idea how this appeared on TV. As you watched it, what did you think?
Very interesting debate, and Cain obviously is one of the front runners because of the pile-on, and I think that there was some really good vetting of this plan, because it's a very complex plan. I mean, 999, it's an easy soundbite, but there are a lot of questions. There are a lot of conservatives who've asked about the possibility or the potential for this plan to create a value-added tax. There's the point that Rick Santorum made during the debate, that because you're adding another tax stream onto this, taxes would go up for 84% of Americans, and so Cain was really put on the hot seat about this. I think that he did well overall, but it really kind of created more questions. I think that he's going to have to do a better job of putting in soundbite portions to answer. I mean, this was the time to sell it, and I think he did okay with selling it.
All right.
But this is the beauty of campaigns. What Cain should do next is take advantage of the focus on his plan, give 3 major speeches, one on each of the 9s, and explain it. Take advantage of it. Jump to the start of it. And he has to make his case,
which is what
campaigns are about.
It's very hard to make a case in a Republican primary about creating a new national tax, because the counter-argument will be, well, what if we get a Democratic president? What if he wants to make it 10-10-10 or 12-12-12? So it is a tough argument. The happiest guy on this stage when the Romney-Perry fisticuffs began was Herman Cain, because to Aaron's point, apples and oranges is not going to explain this to everybody, and you could see it in his eyes. He was looking for a way to find a new explanation, and he thought it was going to keep coming, and then the subject changed. And I think he needs to explain it better, whether it's through speeches or whatever. He was very happy tonight when the focus moved away from him to give him time to reflect on how to do a better job at that.
I would argue that his 999 plan probably peaked tonight. When you're running on a stage like this and every other candidate in your party says it's a bad idea, you've got a problem with your plan.
A lot more to talk about tonight, including more on the Herman Cain phenomenon. Back in just a moment, live from Las Vegas.
None of my distinguished colleagues who have attacked me up here tonight understand the plan. They're wrong about it being a value-added tax. We simply remove the hidden taxes that are in goods and services with our plan and replace it with a single rate 9%. I invite every family to do your own calculations with that arithmetic.
We've been talking about Herman Cain's 999 plan. You just heard some of the scrutiny he took on it tonight up on stage, his defense of it. Tom Foreman joins us now from Washington with a fact check on the proposal. Tom?
The problem, Anderson, is that he says they don't understand his plan. The problem is only he and his team seem to understand his plan. Let's consider one of the comments that was made tonight as he and Mitt Romney locked heads over this question of whether 999 is revenue neutral and who will pay for it. Listen.
It is a jobs plan. It is revenue neutral. It does not raise taxes on those that are making the least. All of those are simply not true.
The analysis I did, person by person, return by return, is that middle-income people see higher taxes under your plan. If it's lower for the middle class, that's great, but that's not what I saw.
So who's right in this matter here? Romney says 999 raises taxes on the middle class. Herman Cain says, no, it does not. Let's look at some of the facts here. Just today, the Tax Policy Center came out with the first, most comprehensive analysis we've seen of this. They say that 84% of taxpayers would pay more under the 999 plan. Families making less than $30,000 would be hit the hardest. The highest income families would get a tax break. Now, this may not be the definitive word, but it's as close as we've come so far. So the simple truth, Anderson, is if you look at Mitt Romney's claim here that it would raise taxes on the middle class, that appears to be true, and that makes a lot of the claims that Herman Cain is making about 999, unless he's got a much better explanation than what he's got so far, false. Anderson?
Center, I think, is Bob Greenstein's crew.
I don't know.
Tom Foreman, appreciate that, keeping him honest tonight. Let's bring back the panel now. You think that the 999, you think it peaked tonight?
Well, David used the word peak, but I do think, look, with the rise in the polls brings the scrutiny here. Tom just gave the analysis right there. You're creating a new tax. Conservatives won't like that, the national sales tax. Many of them find it anathema. Some would love to go to eventually, people have talked about in the past, in the current system, it's very hard to sell to conservatives. Number two, Herman Cain has this great rags to riches story, grew up poor, but there's no question this would hit lower income people the hardest. And you can't go away saying, trust me, when groups on the left and groups on the right make the point that it would raise taxes on most middle class Americans and working class Americans. There is a debate about whether it would be revenue neutral and whether the federal government would take in the same amount of money. But it would raise, if you're a Republican candidate and you have a centrist group saying you will raise taxes on 84% of Americans, that is a very tough argument to sell in a Republican primary.
I mean, Aaron, Grover Norquist, sort of the godfather of the anti-tax movement, called this plan very dangerous.
He did, although it was funny. We had him on, he came out front tonight, he talked about it, and he actually said he signs on to it now. He says as long as it's revenue neutral, which he thinks it is, that it's your job to sell to the American people if you're going to change the burden as to where you're getting that revenue. But that he actually thinks it's consistent with his pledge, which, to your point, I think is a little bit of a shift from what Norquist had said before.
Right. And Ron Paul continues to say it's very dangerous.
Well, but so does Michele Bachmann. I mean, her point is once you open the door, and as John was saying, there isn't, you know, if there's Democrats running the White House or Democrats running the Congress, once you open the door, you can increase that tax. And why would Republicans want to do that or vote for a national sales tax? Hard to get around in the state of New Hampshire where Herman Cain has to run and do well.
But here's the point. It's not our plan. It's his, and he's the candidate. The burden is on him to take advantage of this moment, go forward, and sell it. That's what you do when you run for president.
He's a leading Republican candidate now in many of the state polls. His plan will break the bank, will increase the federal deficit, and put an even tougher tax burden on the middle class at a time when they can least afford it.
Herman Cain was growing in popularity in part because he's feisty and he's interesting, and he has a wonderful life story. But it was also the simplicity of the plan. And now, when you look beneath the cover of the plan, you see how complex it is, and realizes this is a plan that redistributes the tax burden down. It reduces the tax burden on the wealthy, and it redistributes the tax burden down.